So Minnesota brought back Mackenzie Alexander. He's a pretty solid slot corner, as people who've watched Minnesota the last couple of years would know. He did spend a year in Cincinnati, is now back. This deal is worth the veteran minimum plus some signing bonus. That was what was reported. And I was a little surprised to see he would go for that low. But from what I could tell, like from a numbers standpoint at least, he played like Mackenzie Alexander. His pass deflections went up by 1. He had about 9 more tackles in total. His percentage did go up in terms of allowing a catch from 65.5 to 69.6. He got 1 interception while he was there, didn't allow a touchdown. His yards per target went from 5.6 to 7.1, per completion 8.5 to 10.2, but his rating went down from 84.3 down to 82.3. So overall, he played like a pretty solid nickel slot corner. So Mac played like Mac in 2020. Like I said, surprised that he couldn't get more on the open market. However, this could put some Mike Hughes in question, but I'm thinking they could retain him for depth purposes and also potential returning purposes. That was obviously a problem for Minnesota last year. He didn't return because he was hurt. Now, the whole Jeff Gladney situation is a little bit more interesting to me because he was practically given the job after Mike Hughes got hurt. And I don't think that was really in the plan because, as we know, Zimmer likes to bring his corners along slowly, and I don't think that was necessarily different for Gladney, because if you look at this from the corners he's drafted pretty high, he tried to sit Waynes. He sat him behind Terrence Newman, Alexander behind Munnerlyn and Newman, because once Waynes got on the field, Newman went into the slot after Munnerlyn left, and then Alexander was learning behind both Munnerlyn and Newman in back-to-back years. Then you had Hughes, who was learning in the slot behind Alexander, and then it looked like the plan was, well, again, you drafted a nickel corner, well, a guy they perceived as a nickel corner in Jeff Gladney 2 years into Mike Hughes' career, and it's kind of been going like, all right, 2 years you sit, 2 years you start, and then we'll let you leave, and then the new guys will get a chance, and you might draft another dude in the first or second round. That's kind of how it's been working lately. So Hughes gets hurt, Gladney has to go in, messes up the cycle, and now Alexander's back because they can't rely on Mike Hughes. So I don't think this says much about Gladney as some people might like to think. So I just don't think Zimmer had the luxury to actually sit people, and they had to play. But now that he has that luxury, I expect Gladney to go into more reserve kind of role. And in fairness to Gladney, he was dealing with a meniscus repair coming off of the college football season. He actually, like I remember people talking about, like he actually went through the combine with a partially torn meniscus. And so he had to get that repaired. And then in training camp, he missed a couple of days and stuff because of the meniscus repair. And so combine that with he was a rookie coming off of a thing with not a full off season, and then even in college he was not a true nickel to begin with. It's understandable for him to struggle. So I'm thinking this move probably a pretty good move for Gladney's long-term output, but probably not this next season's output. I really like Mackenzie Alexander. There's a lot of people are probably going to be like, guard. But I'm not freaking out on guard yet. So not quite yet in riot mode. But that is a thing that you do need to think about. But just the Mackenzie Alexander signing in a vacuum, I like it. Certainly worth the money. It'll be interesting to see if he actually stays in Minnesota this next time around, because I kind of thought that this was not going to come back because of how it ended after 2019. If you guys remember, he did have the issue of playing in that Chicago game that he thought he shouldn't have been played in, and then he was like kind of partially hurt going into it, and then he got hurt, and then he had to miss the playoffs. So we didn't like Zimmer. for a little bit there. So I'm a little shocked this came back, but time and I guess lack of offers, I assume, brought him back, and is what it is. I would like to know your guys' comments down below, and like and subscribing, super helpful. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.